Imagine you're flying a small plane on a perfectly clear night. Below you, the dark expanse of the ocean. Above, a sky full of stars. It's a routine flight, one you've prepared for. But then, you see something. Something that isn't supposed to be there. This is the chilling true story of Frederick Valentich, a young pilot who vanished into thin air after reporting a mysterious object in the sky. What happened in those final moments over the Bass Strait remains one of aviation's most haunting unsolved mysteries. On the evening of October 21, 1978, 20-year-old Frederick Valentich climbed into his single-engine Cessna 182 at Moorabbin Airport, just outside Melbourne, Australia. His destination was King Island, a small island located in the Bass Strait, about 150 miles away. The weather was ideal for flying clear skies, calm winds, and excellent visibility. It was supposed to be a straightforward flight, a chance for Valentich to build up his flight hours towards his commercial pilot's license. He had about 150 hours of flight time under his belt. While he had faced a few challenges during his training, including failing some exams, he was ultimately certified and cleared for this flight. By all accounts, it was a normal evening for a normal flight. Valentich was also known to have a keen interest in UFOs. He had studied the topic and believed in the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors. This detail would later become a central point of debate, but at the time, it was just a personal interest of a young man with a passion for flying. As he took off and headed south over the water, there was no indication that this flight would be his last. The flight progressed normally for about 45 minutes. Then, at 7:06 p.m., Valentich's voice crackled over the radio to Melbourne's air traffic control. His initial query was calm and professional. He asked if there was any known air traffic in his vicinity, specifically below 5,000 feet. The controller, Steve Roby, checked his radar and replied. The answer was definitive. No known traffic. This is where the story takes a turn from routine to utterly bizarre. A few moments after the controller's response, Valentich radioed back, his tone now laced with confusion. He reported seeing a large, unidentified aircraft. He described it as having 4 bright landing lights. This object, he said, had passed over him at a very high speed, maybe 1,000 feet above. He estimated its speed was impossible to determine. Air traffic control was puzzled. There was nothing on their screens, no other planes scheduled in that sector. Valentich continued his report. He said the object was now approaching him from the east. Then he described it circling above his own aircraft. The controller, Roby, tried to get more information. He asked Valentich to identify the type of aircraft. Valentich's response was unsettling. It's not an aircraft. His voice grew more strained. He explained that the object was long in shape, with a green light, and that it was sort of metallic and shiny on the outside. His description became more frantic. He told the controller, "It's hovering and it's not an aircraft." This was a critical moment. A hovering object that wasn't a helicopter defied all conventional aviation logic. The controller, maintaining his professional composure, continued to ask for details, trying to make sense of what the young pilot was seeing. Valentich then uttered one of the most chilling lines in the history of aviation mysteries. He said, "It seems to be playing some sort of game. He's flying over me too, 3 times at a time, at speeds I can't identify." The idea of being played with by an unknown object miles from shore over a dark ocean is terrifying. The situation escalated. Valentich reported that his engine was beginning to run rough, spluttering. He mentioned that the object was now hovering directly on top of him. The transmission was becoming increasingly difficult to understand. Then came the final, perplexing statement. The controller asked him to describe the aircraft again. Valentich's last recorded words were, "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering on top of me again. It is hovering, and it's not an aircraft." Following this, the radio line remained open for 17 seconds. But there was no more voice. Instead, the controller and anyone listening heard a series of strange metallic scraping sounds. Then, silence. The transmission was abruptly cut. Valentich's Cessna 182, which had been visible on radar, simply vanished. He never made it to King Island. He never made another radio call. Frederick Valentich and his plane were gone. Immediately following the loss of contact, a massive search and rescue operation was launched. For 4 days, aircraft and ships scoured the Bass Strait, the area where Valentich had last made contact. They were looking for anything: wreckage, an oil slick, a life raft, any sign of the pilot or his plane. But they found nothing. It was as if the Cessna had been plucked from the sky, leaving no trace behind. The ocean, which usually gives up some evidence in a crash, remained silent. This complete lack of debris is one of the most baffling aspects of the case. A plane crashing into water, even from a great height, should leave a discernible debris field. But there was none. With no physical evidence, investigators were left with only the recording of that final, panicked transmission. The official investigation by the Australian Department of Transport concluded that the reason for the disappearance could not be determined. They listed the outcome as presumed fatal. The report suggested several possibilities. One leading theory was pilot disorientation. The idea is that Valentich, an inexperienced pilot flying over a featureless ocean at night, could have become spatially disoriented. He might have seen the reflection of his own lights on the water, or even bright stars and planets like Venus, Mars, or Jupiter, and mistaken them for another aircraft. In this state of confusion, he might have put his plane into what's known as a graveyard spiral, flying upside down while thinking he was level, eventually crashing into the sea. This could explain his strange descriptions and the engine trouble he reported, which can occur in unusual flight attitudes. However, it doesn't fully account for the metallic scraping sounds heard at the end of the transmission, nor does it explain the complete absence of wreckage. Another theory pointed to Valentich himself. Could he have staged his own disappearance? He was reportedly unhappy with his career progress and had personal debts. But this theory seems unlikely. Staging such a disappearance would be incredibly complex, and no evidence has ever emerged to suggest he survived. And why the elaborate story about a UFO? It seems a far too dramatic and risky way to vanish. And then, of course, there is the UFO theory, which the public and media quickly embraced. The details provided by Valentich, a fast-moving, hovering, non-conventional craft, fit neatly into the classic UFO encounter narrative. His final transmission sounds genuinely terrified, not like someone making up a story. The strange scraping noises could be interpreted as the sound of his aircraft being interfered with or even captured. Proponents of this theory point to other UFO sightings reported in the area around the same time, though many of these were later explained or remain unverified. Valentich's own known interest in UFOs is seen by some as evidence that he knew what he was looking at, and by others as a reason he might have been predisposed to interpret something mundane as extraordinary. Over the years, new pieces of information have emerged, though none have solved the puzzle. In 1982, a small piece of an aircraft flap was found on Flinders Island, not far from the search area. Analysis suggested it could have come from a Cessna 182, but it was impossible to link it definitively to Valentich's specific plane. Decades later, a group of independent researchers claimed to have found an anomalous metallic object on the seabed near the flight path using sonar, but this has never been officially investigated or confirmed. The audio recording of Valentich's conversation with air traffic control remains the heart of this mystery. Listening to it today is a deeply unsettling experience. You can hear the confidence in his voice slowly erode, replaced by confusion and then by outright fear. You hear Steve Roby, the air traffic controller, trying his best to remain calm and gather information, trying to help a pilot who is reporting something far outside his own experience. The final seconds of metallic noise, followed by an abrupt end, are a sonic cliffhanger with no resolution. So what really happened to Frederick Valentich? Did he become disoriented and tragically crash his plane into the sea, a victim of his own inexperience? Did he mistake a planet for a spaceship? Or did he have a genuine terrifying encounter with something unknown in the skies above the Bass Strait? Something that caused his plane to vanish without a trace? The lack of any wreckage is the fact that haunts every theory. It defies a simple explanation. The story of Frederick Valentich has become a modern legend, a cautionary tale for pilots, and a cornerstone case for UFO researchers. It's a perfect mystery because it has just enough evidence to be compelling, but not enough to be solved. We have the voice of a man describing his own disappearance in real time. We have official records confirming the sequence of events. But we have no plane, no body, no final answer. Decades have passed. Technology has advanced. But the dark waters of the Bass Strait have kept their secret. Frederick Valentich flew into the twilight on a clear October evening and simply never came back, leaving behind only his voice, a strange recording, and a question that may never be answered. What was it that he saw in the sky? Thank you for watching. If you found this mystery as fascinating as we do, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more true horror stories. See you next time.